Welcome to Worlds Collide, a wrestling card podcast for wrestling fans by wrestling fans, featuring Tony Vella from WrestlingTradingCards.com.
This is like a stock market.
And Zhan Morning from Wrestling with Cards on YouTube. And I'm not saying there's a right or wrong answer, I'm just posing the question. Join them as they navigate the world of wrestling cards, helping you build a bigger and better collection and making some money along the way. What's up, wrestling fans, trading card collectors? Back again with another episode. Hopefully it's a great episode, and it's another top 3 insert cool sound effect here.
Ding, 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 ding.
I didn't get a lot of feedback about the whole 1, 2, 3 audio insert there, but I'm having fun doing it. It's fun and cheesy and sends me back to that new generation era of WWF every time I hear it. But
isn't that what cards are about, though? Cards are all about nostalgia, taking you back to a time.
I find myself using that word every single time I'm doing a video or talking about on the podcast or, on social media. It's nostalgia, nostalgia, nostalgia. So yeah, you're right. Tony, before we go any further, I think this is our first recording we've done. For those of you who are watching the video version of this, you've got a new background. How's the store going? Promote it. Let's go.
It's crazy. It's chaotic back here. Look at all this crap back here. It's a lot of work, man. It's a lot more work than I expected. Thank God my wife is so helpful with everything, because I couldn't do half the stuff without her. She takes care of all the paperwork stuff and reminds me, don't forget this, don't forget that. I have a honey-do list for my own business.
Hey, anytime you're doing something like that, any help you can get is great.
I wish I could share graphics right now. We have window graphics done on the front. It made a huge difference of just having this plain non-tinted. So I got the windows tinted because I hated being so open like that, and especially being in Arizona, but I need the tint in the summertime.
Yeah.
But then we got window decals put out there with logos and the store logo and a QR code in the door. You can go ahead and scan, go right to the website, and it's slowly moving in the right direction, man. I'm happy. Our grand opening will be January 14th. We'll be open that day from 11 to 5, and then I've got Honky Tonk Man coming in from 1 to 3 meeting fans. He's been so nice to offer his time to come in and sign some autographs and stuff like that. So that's moving along, man. Moving along,
And I do want to say, make sure to tell everybody where they can find you on social media, because you're talking about the window tint. And for anybody listening or watching, you can follow along with the process of the opening of the store through all the social platforms.
Yeah. Basically, I'm treating the website as the hub, as I think decent business should. Your website should be your hub where everything goes. But all the social media links are on the website. You can go to either, I think it's the Wrestling Guy Store PHX.com, or simply go to WGSPHX.com. That's the main page. The Wrestling Guy Store PHX.com will redirect you to WGSPHX.com. And that is the main website, and it has all of our social media links on there, including email and contact us form.
Make sure you guys check it out, because it's been awesome from somebody that is clearly miles and miles away from the store to kind of follow along your process. I know we were talking offline about how you've had some people contact you about enjoying viewing the process of opening a business through social media. And I know that's not wrestling cards, but guys, we do, think outside the box of wrestling cards, and we have other things going on in life. Before we recorded this, I was like, you messaged me and you're like, hey, let's start recording early. I'm like, all right, I'm in the middle of shipping and packing orders, but I'll put that on. So things do exist outside of wrestling cards, but that's why we're here. So let's get back on track. The top 3 popular names in women's wrestling cards. Not the best, not the most valuable. Always have to kind of preface that. I think this was a request I got in a reply. I don't remember if it was with our Worlds Collide account or a personal account, but somebody replied, I think it was top women wrestling. And I'm like, well, we generally don't talk a lot of just straight up wrestling. How can we kind of tie that into wrestling cards? So I came up with the 3 most popular women's names in wrestling cards. And the criteria for me, and I'd like to hear your input on this for your criteria, because we each have our own, is what are the names that you constantly see selling? Whether it's base cards, whether it's autographs, whether it's relics, it's those names that are always seen, maybe not on screen, but you're constantly seeing sold, or you're constantly seeing on social media people collecting them or posting them, whether it's a buy or a sell. So that's kind of the criteria of what this top three is going to be about. Anything you want to add to that before we kind of start listing the cards?
No, I think those are good criteria to base it off of. But I don't monitor the sales probably as much as you do having an eBay store and stuff like that. I'm not into monitoring individual card sales across the board of wrestling. I mean, outside of my PC stuff, I don't really monitor that much. So when I'm looking for things, like if I get a card in hand from something, I like, oh, what's this going for? And I'll see it that way. But otherwise, I don't really monitor the sales too much. But I can just kind of go with what I know when I do that on a rare occasion.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of where I'm basing my stuff off of.
There may be some crossover too that you may start seeing in your store, whether it's the
Yeah,
action figures or the shirts, and that may also apply to the cards. I don't know, but it will be interesting to see kind of where that goes for you.
I can tell you right now already, starting out, having been open sporadically here and there for the last couple of weeks, Legends. Legends are the number one selling thing that I sell so far, whether it be an action figure or a T-shirt. People will gravitate towards Hogan, towards Undertaker, towards Savage. So those are the things I've been selling. Like no one so far has bought a Seth Rollins. No one's bought a Roman Reigns shirt. I take that back. One person did on Saturday or Friday. No one's bought. You name any new superstar. No one's bought anything yet. I mean, I still have MGF figures on the wall. I still have
when the hobby, when MJF is the darling of the like internet wrestling world,
sure,
in real life in your store, he's not selling. That's interesting.
So far, mainly I think too, when it comes, I mean, we're getting off track a little bit, but mainly I think that relates to its marketing. So they're not marketed here yet in Arizona. I mean, yes, it's a national thing. I can watch it on TV all the time. Which is why I don't think it does as well over in the UK, because they have never made a trip over there, and there's no way for people in the UK to watch it outside of the internet. But AEW hasn't been to Arizona yet that I'm aware of, so it's not as popular, I think, as it would be in the other markets that it's aired at. So I don't really get asked for it. I have a small section of AEW figures on the wall. People kind of go, "Oh yeah, I've heard of them," that kind of thing. But right now, it's been Legends, and that's kind of where I think my mind goes to when it comes to our topic here of our top three thing.
And I actually went the opposite direction because of my experience. So it's going to be interesting to get into. And it's also interesting that, we started off talking about nostalgia, and that's what's selling. It's not just me talking about it on any platform that we're talking wrestling cards. It's actually people in your store buying nostalgia. That's what, wrestling merchandise, and, we want to promote new stuff. And, hopefully 20 years down the road, some of the names I'm going to mention today are talked about in that Legends category. But I'll go ahead and kick it off. And I think one of ours, let's just start with that because we had it both on the same list.
Yep.
Alexa Bliss. I mean, it's just her stuff sells like crazy. I see, if I've gone to a wrestling show, WWE house show or independent show, there's always like kids in the audience that have Alexa Bliss shirts on. And from a card perspective, everything from Alexa sells. Base cards. There's those action shot like NXT women's division cards that many people within the hobby like kind of crap on. Like, oh, we don't need these. They sell. Like if she's on it, they sell. So,
which is strange too, because I ordered stuff for her figures and T-shirts. She was one of the people that I said, well, she's very popular. I got to make sure I get some shirts. I haven't sold a thing of hers yet.
That's really interesting to hear that.
I mean, if I had singles and cards, like I've only been asked twice now about, hey, are you going to be carrying anything more than just the base sets? I said, well, I'm kind of letting the customers kind of dictate that. If it becomes a more requested thing, I'll start carrying individual cards and graded cards and things like that. I'll get a display case and start putting that stuff in there. But for right now, it's just base sets. So, but no one specifically has asked anything for Alexa. But when it comes to cards on the market, that's what I've always heard. That's what I always see when I do some searches. She seems to always sell no matter what.
Yeah, and it's, again, we're not saying like some of her cards have sold in more modern wrestling cards. They have sold for a lot, and some of them, depending on how you want to categorize certain cards, maybe the Alexa cards have sold for more than anything else within the specific category you're looking at.
We're
But
just
I'm just
talking
talking
popularity here.
volume. Yeah, just
Yeah.
volume. It doesn't matter what the card is. She's selling a ton. So I'll go ahead since we were talking legends. I see the next one on your list, and I'll let you take that.
Yeah, I have Trish Stratus on that one. She seems to be consistent, very popular all the time, going all the way back even to, the art box motion cards, all to the Fleer era.
Yep.
Arguably probably the most popular and best-selling diva of that time when I go back to the diva era. And I think she still translates to this day. I don't see her not selling. Again, I don't search all the time, but she seems to sell pretty well on a consistent basis, and she's popular. She'll always be popular, I think.
I 100% agree. I don't know if you could see there's a very small stack here that I'm working on. And that's actually like a 30 card order. And there's so much like 2016, 17, 18 Trish Stratus cards in there. And like even like most people associate her with that Fleer era, but
Yep.
even more the modern stuff, it's not to the level of as Alexa, but it's up there. She sells more than many modern, and she definitely is probably just from my experience from selling so many like base cards and inserts and stuff, I would say the only legend, if you want to call it that, that kind of rivals her, and they're all kind of on the same level, would be like China, Lita,
I was
and
gonna include Lita in there too.
Yeah,
Only because we saw the topic really recently. I know Paul and I talked about our monthly recap about that Lita card that sold for $999, whatever it was.
right.
And it, guy left money on the table kind of thing. And maybe he did. Maybe he did. I don't know. That's a different
Discussion
argument.
for another
But
show.
yeah, but it just goes to show that if that was true, which, and part of me believes that is true, that her car probably would have sold for a lot more. There's still that popularity factor, and I think her stuff would sell consistently too. I kind of disagree on the China one, only because she's never gotten the love that I think that she's rightfully deserved in the hobby, as well as obviously personal stuff and even being inducted in the Hall of Fame and all that stuff. But I just don't see her getting that kind of hobby love which we can say that about a lot of people.
Well, I'm just saying from my perspective of selling in volume.
Sure.
And I'm just, cherry picking the names that I see constantly rolling through my eBay store and actually selling. She's not on the Lita level and she's not on the Trish level, but she's like right there.
It's weird trying to go back to some of these, what now we're calling them legends, these legend women's wrestlers.
From only like 20 years ago.
Yeah. But in that era though, I mean, it was, it's a Trish, Lita, Stacy Keibler, Tori Wilson type era.
That's another one,
which is those were always, and Keibler always sold well too. I mean, her stuff always sold very well and a consistent basis and and for some good numbers back in those days. But you don't see her selling at all really these days that I'm aware of, that out of sight, out of mind type thing, where you have a Trish and a Lita who come back for nostalgia episodes or things like that, or one more tag kind of match kind of thing they come back for. So they keep themselves in the public eye a lot. And I think that kind of helps their popularity continue to keep going.
Moving on to my next one, and this is a little bit topical, Sasha Banks. And a little bit of a controversial topic because, at the time of recording, we're seeing a lot of stuff saying she's done with WWE forever. She's possibly going to New Japan, or maybe she's going here. Maybe she's not doing any wrestling anymore and she's just going to continue to do like the acting thing. And the reason like Sasha's always been popular, but then it seemed like when this whole Mandalorian thing started, like her wrestling cards on top of that popularity just exploded. And my logic, of course, went to, well, there's crossover appeal between the people who collect maybe non-sport and they really like her character, so they go find her cards in wrestling, even if they're not wrestling fans. Or maybe she's just in the public eye now more. And so the wrestling fans that do know her go back and say, oh, well, I remember when she had this in Topps or this refractor, or, looking at the newer Panini stuff, maybe they want to grab her Prism parallels or something like that. So Sasha's another name that moves not quite to the level of Alexa, but she does move quite a bit in my store.
She does. And that's another name. I mean, you could take any of these modern era women and make an argument that they're, part of that top 3, top 5 popularities like that. I mean, and she's definitely one of them. We can go through the list of more people, but we have other names.
yeah, because that's kind of going to be my third one. But go ahead with your next one.
Mine's Becky Lynch. Another consistent. We have several super collectors out there for Becky.
Yeah, which
That continue
I think
continue to
that's
keep moving it.
awesome to
Yeah,
see. Like, I think it's awesome when you can see people. I'm going to use this word, but it's not technically, when they're fighting over cards. Like
sure.
the level of popularity that there's that many collectors collecting somebody that's, I say it all the time, not a Hogan, not a Rock, not
Yeah.
a 82 All Star. You know, it's when it's something different and there's that many people that want it. That's awesome.
Yeah, and so and these people have all made themselves known. That you can see that there's these super collectors for Becky. She definitely has a huge fan base, super popular, and I think her stuff sells on a consistent basis. And again, we're not really talking about just sales here. We're just talking about popularity when it comes to women's cards, whether it be just desirability. Obviously,
That
I guess that equals sales, I guess.
the
Uh,
desirability is it. It's they
yeah,
want, everything, not just I'm looking for that Prism Gold or I'm looking for that autograph card. It's
yeah.
I want the base cards, the action cards. Like I just want everything of these superstars.
Yeah, and and I kind of equate that to people like, you're a carrying cross collector and super collectors out there, what women are like the tops when it comes to people who are super collectors. To me, that's a popularity thing. So, um,
And like you said, Becky seems to be one of the names. We
yep,
mentioned Alexa, we mentioned Sasha, but you don't see as many people trying to fight over their cards on like social media from their collecting standpoint.
true. Yeah. I mean, again, we can go through any number of modern people. I know we've probably talked about Charlotte or had Charlotte in our list probably, and some, um, anybody from those four horsewomen,
Yeah.
era would be a good candidate, I think. Um, but my top three, in no specific order, Alexa, Trish, and Becky.
And I'm going to close it out with it's kind of a cheating, but we just touched on it. There's this level right below Alexa and Sasha and again, this is just my experience from selling. There, it's kind of a toss up, and I've got names like Mandy Rose, Liv Morgan, Asuka. We mentioned Charlotte. Rhea Ripley's just surged in popularity over the last couple of years, and all of those names kind of sprinkled in. Again, this order that I have sitting behind me, it's got all of those names that we've mentioned in it, and it's not that one is on that third category. It's not that one is selling more than another, but just the level of popularity of specific women wrestlers. Now, we see some in AEW or we see some in NXT, maybe some of the newer names that you see in NXT that have like Prism rookie cards. Those sell, but not like you would think that it's a premium release and these are rookie cards, but yet they're not selling to the level of popularity as a Trish base card or an Asuka in action card. So it's just an interesting dynamic when you stop and think about it that way.
I had thought about AEW two talent. I thought, oh man, is like Britt Baker going to be one on the list too? Because there was a moment there, during that whole time when she was, spouting out being one of the pillars of AEW. It's like that, that her popularity was at kind of really super high. And I thought, oh, could be, she's going to be like the big thing for that company when it comes to the female wrestlers over there. And I don't see it as much today, so I'm not familiar with whether or not her stuff is selling on a consistent basis, whether it be a base autograph, it doesn't matter what it is. I would like to think so. I probably would squeeze her in somewhere in the top five for me right now when it comes to popularity, consistent sales type stuff. I don't know. I'm interested in hearing other people talk about it and see if would you put someone? Is there anybody in AEW that you would probably put as a popular that you put in your top three for popularity right now? I'm curious.
I don't think if
Because our list is predominantly all about WWE right now, and I'm by no means am I trying to be biased. That it's just a WWE conversation.
no,
It's just
no.
across the board what we see selling consistently or what is popular on a from a trading card perspective.
You said it yourself with your store sales, like what you're
Yeah,
selling. And like it's not AEW, it's not indie stuff. It's WWE legends, it's household
yeah,
names, it's stuff that people can see on TV. And that's where the popularity of most of this. I mean, there are, if you want to talk talent, like maybe we like some talent better than the talent that we've named, or maybe we like certain cards, or I love the Japanese Joshi cards, like from the design and the autographs and everything. But like I just don't relate to that product because I don't watch a lot of women's Joshi wrestling. So that, but from a sales perspective, like I've had some of that stuff in my store, and even these base cards will sell more than something that's a little bit more rare and scarce of a talent that's just not as well known. And to kind of close out the show, we've talked about this before, and I don't mean to open a can of worms, but that's what I do. So we've talked about how the little bit of a creepy collector base behind women's wrestling cards. And do you think we're starting to see a little bit of a shift in that based on just looking at them as a straight up superstar that they like watching on their TV and not so much just the looks? Because I think I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but I think we're kind of, as collectors, maybe moving a little bit past that, or kind of combining the two. Because if you sit down and you watch any women's wrestling from WWE or from Impact or AEW, like, they're putting on some of the best matches there are.
Yeah. And I think that the popularity of women's wrestling is beyond the TNA factor now. That was what drove it before, because that was the feature for the most part during the Attitude Era. It was all about the bra and panties matches and all that kind of stuff, and whatever it could be risque and make these women look sexy. That became the popularity aspect of it. But then you start having women putting on really good and amazing matches. From the Trish and Litas and things like that, and then you get into the new era where we have the Beckys, the Sashas, the Alexas, and Baileys, and all these putting on these clinics. Man, they're putting on amazing matches, and even though Britt Baker, I have to go back to that again as well. They're putting on some clinics, man. These women are putting on. They're still in the show a lot of times, and so I think there's still the sexiness aspect of the collectability. There's going to be creeps out there who just want to, have their cards because they find them sexy. But I think others out there know, I legit am a fan of this person because I like the way of their style. I like how they present themselves in the ring. Are they beautiful? Yes, but they're also extremely talented as well. And I think that that needle has moved over to that side now, more than just being about sex appeal.
I think too, the card companies, we're seeing that as a reflection of the card companies, because if you look back to maybe the Attitude Era stuff or some of that early 2000s stuff, the pictures and the types of cards, like Kiss cards or whatever, it was like it was promoting that aspect of that talent. And now we're looking at Black 101, Prism cards, or Superfractors, or Transcendent autos, like all of these cards that you see of the Hogans, Rocks, Macho Mans, and now you're getting the female talent presented alongside these legends as a mutual talent. So
they're not just sexy poses and shots anymore now. Right. Like, they got away with a lot more when Flair had the license. They got away with a lot more stuff at that time, of like some not really risque type pictures, but stuff that I don't think you'd see as much now on trading cards. Obviously, we live in a much different world. But they're getting the same treatment as the men wrestlers, as far as like there's some in-ring action, there's some some studio shots, there's some portraits, there's this, there's that. It's like you said, it's equal. It's just there's a one-on-one over here for this person, this guy, and a one-on-one, the same thing over here for this girl, and back and forth. So Kiss cards never bothered me. I know it was a point in conversation that was creepy, this, that, and the other.
Well, there for a while, they were like the top, like, go back to Alexa or Sasha or Becky, like these Kiss cards were like the cream of the crop. And I think from popularity perspective, that's really shifted. Yeah.
I mean, autographed Kiss cards became the popular thing. And I see that, but I don't find them to be creepy. If you guys want creepy, don't get me started on some of this Japanese adult trading card stuff. Let's not talk about that.
Not an After Dark episode.
Yes. But you guys ain't seen nothing yet. But it's just nice to see that. So it's in the collectible world, just like in the real world, I think, of wrestling, the playing field is a bit more even now, as far as the treatment level goes for popularity, styles, appreciation, respect. It translates from both the TV, the product itself, and how the women are wrestling and how they're being received. It translates into collectibles, whether it be the cards or action figures or whatever else.
100% agree. Anything else you want to touch on? I think we actually covered more kind of on the front and back end of these cards, and kind of set some background about why we chose who we chose, and some.
No, and I love to hear other people's opinions. I mean,
definitely,
these are just our little segment we call top three. We talk about what our top three is. I want to hear what other people's top threes are, and I like to know why. Why is that person? You feel that person is in your top three? There's no wrong answers here, so Unless you're telling me like Linda Miles is like a top 3 for you. I don't know why that would be that, but whatever. No dig on her. I mean, just saying. I mean, it was a blink and you missed her kind of thing, you know. But Ryan Shamrock, she needs to be top 3.
Yeah, nobody talks about her.
Yeah, I mean, but you know, it'd be interesting to hear what people's comments are on that. But
yeah, reach out to us on social media, any of our accounts. You know, the Wrestling Trading Cards account, Wrestling Guy Store account, maybe. Why not?
Why not?
My account, the Worlds Collide account, like anything you want to tag us in. You know, we'd love to get the discussion going. If you're watching the video version of this, you know, leave a comment in the show notes below. Like, what's your top 3, or do you think we're wrong? Do you think we're right? Again, we've never come on here to say we are right. We are the knower of all. It's like we're just here to have a discussion and, you know, try to educate from a thinking perspective, not a this is what you need to do, this is wrong, this is right. It's just, man, hey, here's some things to think about and consider.
Well, speaking of, then, you know, where can people all find you then?
Oh, I'm going first this time. At Zhan Morning on all social platforms. Wrestling with Cards on YouTube, of course, the Wrestling with Cards podcast, and the Worlds Collide podcast.
For me, so I got distracted there. Someone just messaged me. For me, everything's on WrestlingTradingCards.com. All of our social media handles are right there on every single page. At the bottom, I believe, every single page for everything. And but feel free to send us a note there on any of the social media platforms. And if you guys want to show some support for my new endeavor here, which is the Wrestling Guy store here in Phoenix, you can go to WGSPHX.com. All the social media platforms there as well.
Well, hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I hope it got you to think a little bit about, you know, what are the most popular names in women's wrestling cards and kind of how that portrays on screen or in Tony's store from sales of shirts and figures and whatnot. But we thank you guys for listening. Please subscribe, share this, you know, spread the word about the podcast. That's the best way for this podcast to grow, for the wrestling card hobby to grow, is to find those wrestling fans out there that aren't collecting wrestling cards. You know, throw them an episode of us or Card Foundation or my podcast or whoever that's got wrestling card content out there. Just spread the word, share. Please like and subscribe wherever you're listening to this. And, you know, we mentioned several accounts that you can follow. And no matter which one of those that you follow, the one thing that they all have in common is they all think wrestling cards rule. We'll see it.